So, folks, a few days ago, or maybe a week ago or so, we talked about an incident where a bunch of South Korean contractors were rounded up by ICE and kept in ICE detention facilities before being deported back to South Korea. Now, these workers had been there legally. They were legally here doing work for Hyundai. Hyundai is opening a new plant. They've pledged billions of dollars in new investments. And we talked about how they got rounded up by ICE. And this case and this story have gotten even weirder. Since then, it turns out that ICE apparently only had a warrant for 4 Hispanic men, and instead they rounded up hundreds of South Korean men. And this has, of course, resulted in a colossal scandal. And a couple days ago, those South Koreans finally arrived back in South Korea, and the South Korean press are furious. Absolutely furious. Here is an excerpt from one of their newspapers talking about the treatment of these South Korean workers. Their waists and hands were tied together, forcing them to bend down and lick water to drink. The unscreened bathrooms contained only a single sheet to cover their lower bodies. Sunlight barely penetrated through a fist-sized hole, and they were only allowed access to the small yard for 2 hours. Detained by U.S. immigration authorities for 8 days, the workers and their families expressed shock, describing human rights violations and absurdities they could not have imagined as ordinary Koreans living in 2025. And understand that when we're talking about this is common treatment in U.S. immigration facilities. All too common. But understand, to everyone outside the United States, it looks monstrous and medieval. It is disgusting. And the affront that this has had en masse in South Korea is really difficult to overstate. Specifically here, the Tennessean reported a couple days ago that other Korean workers at other factories are leaving. So here's this story out of Nashville. Korean workers at Spring Hill factory leave U.S. following immigration raid in Georgia. Federal agents last week carried out the largest single-site immigration raid in Homeland Security's history at LG Energy Solutions' joint battery facility with Hyundai Motor in Georgia, detaining 475 workers, more than 300 of them South Korean nationals. After the September 4th raid, Korean employees at the company's Spring Hill, Tennessee operation left the U.S., citing growing concerns over visa status and legal uncertainty, according to a Reuters report. And the report comes after a July announcement that LG Energy Solutions and GM announced the latest stepping stone of its $2.3 billion joint venture to produce low-cost battery cells known as lithium iron phosphate at its Spring Hill production site. Many of the Georgia detainees held electronic system for travel authorization visa waivers, or B-1 temporary business traveler visas, according to Reuters. Those documents do not allow non-citizens to work in the U.S. in construction or equipment installation. However, that might not have been why they were there. These people had documents that allowed them to live in the United States and work here. Not necessarily in certain capacities, but they had documentation. These were not undocumented immigrants, right? And basically, Korea is just going like, well, we can't send people to work here anymore. We cannot send our citizens to the United States in good faith, in assurance that they aren't going to be rounded up and tortured. Because that's what the United States government has become comfortable doing to every undocumented person. LG Energy Solutions has asked its subcontractors to craft contingency plans to hire local workers as the move threatens to slow its U.S. investment plan. Ultimum Cells Ultium Cells faces an exodus of its Korean workforce as GM and other second-tier suppliers are already laying off employees amid a shifting economic outlook for the auto industry. Last week, the General Motors Spring Hill plant announced the company would be furloughing roughly half of its 1,400 shift workers as it rolls back production of its electric vehicles. Because again, the Trump administration is just killing the auto manufacturing industry. Like, just straight up, like, oh, you wanted to transition to, like, green energy cars? Well, sucks to suck that you spent billions of dollars to build a battery plant for cars. Guess you're gonna have to lay off half your workers. Oh no. Also, here is an editorial that ran in South Korea. What day was this? September 14th, so just a couple of days ago. MAGA is fundamentally a populist white racism. The slogan, "Make America Great Again," is more accurately described as "Make White America Greater." The fact that the tariff policy insisted on a 50% tariff only on steel and aluminum stems from the concentration of these groups in the Rust Belt. The massive crackdown on illegal immigrants at the Hyundai LG Energy Solutions joint venture plant in Georgia must be understood in this context. The scenes of our workers being chained and escorted away were reminiscent of the dragging of African slaves in the 18th and 19th centuries. The Department of Homeland Security boasted of the largest single-site raid in history, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement even brazenly released footage of the raid, which was highly violating human rights, as if to boast of their achievement. Far-right whites may have secretly rejoiced. Even politicians like the Georgia governor and local lawmakers who have been active in attracting factories have shifted their stance and sympathized with their grievances. This is likely because it's difficult to ignore the anti-immigration sentiment of Native Americans. Like the McCarthyism that swept through the American society in the 1950s, irrational madness dominates American society. The recent visa issue, which could have been resolved diplomatically with advance notice from an ally, is difficult to explain beyond political maneuvering. The fact that they mobilized helicopters and armored vehicles for show, as if they had been caught, is difficult to explain. Like, this is what they're seeing, and there is a lot of coverage of this going on in South Korea at the moment. It's just bizarre. Like, we are talking about this has the potential to, like, spiral out even further. You know, we're talking, oh, well, you know, it's hurting like a couple multi-billion-dollar deals. Okay, well, I mean, how much worse could this get? How much worse could this get? I found a guy here who does a really good job explaining it. Pony Boy Cult. Here we go. On TikTok.
Hi, as someone who worked on the Blue Oval Ford plant, Blue Oval City up here in Stanton, Tennessee, kind of, in between Jackson and Memphis, I stayed there for about a year last year working on this project. And let me tell you something, a woman who is claiming that she called ICE on that Hyundai plant in Georgia, this is going to be so much bigger than just Hyundai. Okay? Ford itself, the most American car manufacturer you can think of, every single bit of our machinery was set up and programmed by South Koreans. The engineering of the building, the engineering of the machines, every bit of it was done by SK Engineering out of South Korea. Yes, the same SK that is part of SKT T1 Telecom, the big league team. Yeah, Faker, this guy, their engineering branches who designed and set up these machines. What they do is for the years that the plant is being built, because South Korea is heavily invested in our electric vehicle manufacturing and production. So what they do is they design the machines, send them over here, we set them up, millwrights, everything else. We set the iron, we set the building up, we get everything up. And then they come over, set up the machines, and then train American workers how to run the machines. This woman not only just cost Georgia billions of dollars with this plant, because I highly doubt that South Korea will send their workers back. If they do, it's going to be under very strict rules for the Trump administration. If you don't think that word will get around to every other car manufacturer, because it's not just Hyundai, It is Ford, it's Chevy, it's Nissan, Mazda, Toyota, every single one of them. The machines are designed, installed, and set up by South Koreans. It's the biggest, when you think of car plants, it's intertwined. So no, you idiots have not only just cost Georgia billions, you've created a massive diplomatic problem that this administration will not be able to handle right. And on top of that, there's a good chance that any of these other car plants that have gone up in the last few years that haven't had their machines set up yet, odds are you've just fucked with those jobs as well. You are talking about tens of thousands of American jobs. Poof, up in smoke. So congratulations, MAGA. Your racism is once again going to cost us billions of dollars because you guys can't get over the fact that people who aren't white are better than you.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be a costly problem for sure, but it's also going to be one that we can't just, like, turn around and fix. You know, like, this isn't going to be like one of those things where, like, oh, you know, if the election in 2028 goes our way, you know, the new person comes in and everything's fine. Like, no, actually, that's not how international relations work. Any kind of incoming leadership that happens after this is going to have to pick up these pieces. And it's gonna be a lot of pieces, chat. It's gonna be a lot of pieces to pick up. Like, I don't know, guys. Do you think that the publications that are running footage and images of, like, their countrymen in chains, do you think that they're gonna, like, forgive and forget this one? Because they're not at all gonna do that. Just weeping in tears. They aren't able to do this. And by the way, we already have the diplomatic response from the United States, and it is as painfully limp-wristed as you could possibly imagine. The U.S. The U.S. Deputy State Secretary Landau expresses regret. Christopher Landau, Deputy Secretary of State, visited Seoul for a meeting with South Korean First Vice Foreign Minister Park Yeon-ju. According to Seoul's foreign ministry, Landau conveyed his deep regret over the detention of hundreds of South Korean workers in an immigration crackdown earlier this month. Landau also told Park the two allies should try to use the incident as an opportunity to further strengthen their bilateral ties and improve relevant systems where necessary. Fuck off. Landau also said U.S. President Donald Trump has a keen interest in the matter and ensured that those who have returned home will not face any disadvantages when re-entering the United States. They're not going to send those people back here. They're not coming back here to be tortured again. What are you talking about? Also, you couldn't even send the actual Secretary of State? It wasn't important enough to send the real Secretary of State to talk? Did anyone get fired for this? Did anyone face any kind of responsibility? No. The people who did the rounding up, they're all high-fiving each other and, like, jerking off together about it, okay? They're not facing consequences. The Deputy Secretary of State is the one who gets dispatched to handle this, and he's just, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We're just a little baby country. It's our birthday. God, it's so fucking stupid. And, like, the worst part is, it's not just that it's stupid, right? Yeah, complaining lady, it'll hit the entire South Korean economy. Like, this is gonna be something that immiserates thousands, millions, potentially, of people for no other reason than to serve, like, the bigoted ends of conservatives in this country who thinks it's great and clap like seals when they see, you know, non-white people getting rounded up by their favorite faceless agents of terror. This is going to be a problem that is going to take decades to unfuck. And in the meantime, a lot of people are going to suffer as a result. But, you know, I guess, you know, MAGA can't stop feeling so great about it, how hard it's winning these days. It's just winning so hard. What winning looks like is losing billions of dollars in business deals while you strangle the economy and prevent it from innovating, and then also kill off your relations with an entire country that is the backbone of your ability to produce the thing you consider most American about your country. That's actually winning. Winning is when you just completely shit yourself in front of the entire world. That's winning now. Anyway, if you enjoyed that, like, comment, and subscribe, I guess. It's never gonna be weird. Never not gonna be weird to end a segment like that.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.